to say it.
Aaron Whitlow.
La 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 Bamba. Brandon Spivey from the Mark Out Movie Podcast. Are you ready, Aaron?
Yes, Brandon, I am. What are we doing today, my festive friend?
I just randomly sang La Bamba, and he asked me what we're doing today. Oh
Well, for the
boy.
audience who don't know, dude, he's still with the puns.
Oh boy.
He's still with over all my
We're
love,
doing
all
La
my
Bamba.
kisses. You don't know where you've been, to Mr. No Boy.
Oh boy.
You with me, oh boy.
Oh boy.
All right. La Bamba, the movie that came out in 1987. It's one of the early, I can say the earliest biopics. There's always been biopics for as long as you can remember. But musical biopic, the only one about Richie Valens, who was a Mexican uh, rising star,
Yeah.
whose life was tragically cut short at the age of 17. I didn't even do a banner for what we did doing, and I apologize. I just thought about that.
No respect to Lou Diamond Phillips. I swear. Man gets no respect.
And speaking of Lou Diamond Phillips, movie is starring Lou Diamond Phillips. At this point in our lives, a very
Otherwise,
legend.
why would I mention Lou Diamond Phillips? He's not important today.
Hey, don't do my boy Lou that way. I've always been a fan of Lou.
I like him. I actually love Lou Diamond. I think he's a great actor, but he's just not relevant, right? I mean,
well, I ain't gonna say that about the man. I would love for him to come on the podcast because I find he's still relevant, Lou Diamond. But
I'll change my tune if he comes on the podcast. I'll pull an Aaron.
But anyway, Lou Diamond is in this film as Richie Valens. Isaiah Morales is his brother Bob Morales.
See, he's relevant. He was just in Mission Impossible.
Rosanna DeSoto is plays their mother, Connie, and then the legendary late great Elizabeth Pena was Rosie Morales.
Yeah.
She this is her second time featured on the podcast. Second. This is the third. She wasn't in that movie we watched a few weeks ago, right? The one that
Lone Star.
Well, she was. So it's the third time featured on the podcast.
What was the first one?
The family movie.
That's right. She played the mom. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, third time.
Yeah, actually, might have been fourth. Have we did Batteries Not Included?
No, not to my knowledge. No.
All right. Well, because she's also in that movie. But yeah, and then my boy Joey Pantalones, Joey Payne, is in this movie. It's Bob King. Yeah, man. This movie is PG-13. First of all, man, I've always loved this movie, even from a very young age. Brad.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I love this era of music the most. So, I gotta be honest, I didn't pay attention to the lip singing one bit.
It
didn't bother me. It wasn't distracting. I just didn't pay attention to it. So that's it's not going to count anything against it because I didn't notice it. I was having too much of a good time with it. So, I love this story. But I tell you what, revisiting this movie, what I love more, what I get more out of it is the bond between Richie and Bob. That bond, that brotherhood, the jealousy Bob has over him, and he feels like a failure because he is the older brother. And his life didn't go the way he thought it would. He's kind of like a drug dealer. I mean, I never really grasped that at a young age. That's what he really did.
He's a severe alcoholic. Like struggles with addiction. It seems like, I don't know, did he serve at all in any wars or anything?
I don't think so. but I don't know. I don't really know his history other than this movie. So
But this movie, it's his. Now, it wasn't Lou Diamond Phillips' initial film. His first film was, I think, Stand and Deliver or something like somewhere he's like a student in school. That was like one of his first roles. But this
yeah,
is his breakout performance, in my
yeah,
in my opinion.
yeah.
Uh,
No doubt,
he-
no doubt.
this is the movie that introduced me to Lou Diamond Phillips, and I fell in love with him all over again with the Young Guns films. Here's my favorite part, other than Emilio. Here's my favorite part of the Young Guns
Yeah,
film.
I love Chavez.
Yeah,
Chavez.
Chavez. Yeah.
I don't know who
Um,
I like second best though, because I like Doc too. But obviously, yeah, Billy was. He's. I don't know anyone that's not gonna say Billy the Kid's their favorite part of Young Guns.
yeah,
You know,
but
but the whole cast was great, and Lou showed his acting chops in that, and he showed it in here. Man, he was really good as Richie Valens. Like the innocence that Richie has in this movie. I fell in love with the guy. I mean, honestly, his music, the innocence of him. Trusting,
mhm,
especially at the end of that movie. We all know how it ends. You know what
yeah,
happens with him and Buddy Holly and
Big Bopper.
Big Bopper. Trusting them that they actually know that this plane's gonna get him there safely. With his fear of flying, man, that scene is heartbreaking because you know what's coming. If you
Yeah,
know anything about the history of it at all, man.
the the always tragic stories that this was one of the first tragedies in music history. Not the first. I mean, there's probably been ample more before this, but this is one of the big ones that was really like news, breaking news.
Yeah,
With you had three rising stars. Buddy Holly would arguably probably been like at that time the biggest talent.
yeah,
I would argue the biggest talent musically. Now I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of the doo wop era. That kind of came after this era. Uh, but this was that place in rock and roll history where rock rock and roll started from rhythm and blues.
mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's like you get people like Chuck Berry, Little Richie, they were the ones that pioneered it. But the ones that pioneered rhythm and blues would have been uh, Mama Thornton and people like that influenced Elvis Presley.
Yeah,
But I would say Richie Valens at this time in his career was just starting to rise. But Buddy Holly and Big Bopper were the stars. It'd be the equivalent of I'm trying to think Taylor. I guess Taylor Swift, and maybe say someone that's not as big as Taylor, but just coming up, riding together on a plane together, and then a tragic thing happens. This would be that. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, but Buddy Holly was huge. Peggy Sue was like the number one hit at that time. But Donna, La Bamba, uh, you know, and then of course, oh Boy, which was Buddy Holly's song. Man, then La Bamba was Big Bopper. Big Bopper was the Big Bopper, you so she's my baby. But yeah, oh man, it was fun. It was a fun movie
yeah.
too.
It's a
It was
fun movie.
tragic, but it's a fun
It's
movie.
tragedy. But even I told you this last night when I was watching it. I don't know how accurate this movie is with this,
I heard it's
but
very accurate. I think
but
his family, Richie Valens' family, had a lot of creative input on like what was going on in the film.
but the irony that his first live audience, him singing "Oh Boy," a Buddy Holly song, and it it went to another level watching it last night. Like the irony of that, because he's going to end up meeting Buddy, and he's going to end up dying with Buddy. I mean, it's heartbreaking that his first song to a live audience was "Oh Boy," because I mean that's sad irony too. I mean, it's because I thought about it last night watching it, man. I was like, man, he's singing "Oh Boy," and it's great, and the audience is living it up, but his journey and how it ends with meeting Buddy, and he's sick, and he's cold, and he should have been like, I'm gonna take the bus. I'm just gonna take the bus. But in this movie, it didn't give him much of a choice in the matter. It felt like he didn't really have a choice whether he took the plane or the bus.
Yeah, it felt like it seems like now. I wonder how true this is. Like he literally called his manager and asked him, please do everything you can to get the bus up and running because I'd rather take the bus.
Yeah.
It felt like almost like he felt something about this. Very similar to what I heard on the account of Owen Hart in his death. Like he really had an uneasy feeling about doing the stunt. He told them, he told Vince, he told other people, listen, I really don't want to do this. I don't know why this is necessary. And he's done it before, but just something about that night, he just did not feel good about it. But he did it, and obviously a tragedy occurred. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a real thing. People that know something's coming up in their life that they can't explain. They have an uneasy feeling because my closest childhood friend experienced this with me personally. I experienced it, I guess, with him 2 weeks before his death. The way he talked, it was like he was saying goodbye to me, and it always stuck with me. It's like I just felt like he knew the way he talked, the way he acted. It's like something just didn't feel right. And his mom said that he knew something was coming. So I think it's a real thing that we do as humans get an uneasy feeling when something like that's about to happen to us. I believe that. I 100% believe that.
I've heard that about other people as well. I heard that type of thing occurring as well. Like you think about, for instance, there were several people that tried to warn Julius Caesar not to go to the like the Congress Hall, whatever you call it, that meeting. People try to warn him. His wife had a bad dream and told her, "I had a dream that you were gonna die. You shouldn't go there." And then like other people try to warn him and try to give him notes and things like that, but it just he went and ended up dying and being assassinated. And you heard things like Biggie Smalls was pretty much warned not really to go back to California so soon after Tupac's death, but he went and obviously got murdered in Tupac in Vegas as well. So
yeah,
it's and just but the tragedy that befell the music industry then with Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and Big Bopper. Like there's been other tragedies regarding airplane crashes. Patsy Cline, Otis Redding, of course. Is it Leonard Skinner? Most of the members of Leonard Skinner at one point.
I think so.
Yeah, it's just like it's always, and then well, I'm glad he didn't die, but Travis Baker, Baker or Barker, I forget his name, from Blink 182. He was in a plane crash, but he survived. And then, of course, in the wrestling world, Ric Flair was in a plane crash. I think maybe, I don't know how many people might have died on there, but he survived. That's miraculous. And plus, we know Kobe Bryant in a helicopter crash.
Yeah.
But it's always, it's always a tragic way of going, and I feel more Kobe's death and his daughter's death. Um, Even though I didn't know them, it's just and then the other people that was on that helicopter as well. Um, but
Yeah.
yeah, but Richie Valens, man, did you have fun listening to the music in this movie?
Oh yeah, yeah. To me, it's a great '80s biopic. Well, you don't even have to say '80s. It's just a great biopic. Still, it's a lot of fun. It's you know it's character driven as well. It's not just about the music. It's about these relationships that he has with Donna, that he has with Bob, his mom, about the upbringing they had, and how Bob got him out of there. And but he did it with drug money apparently. But still, I mean, I love the story though. I love this particular story, this getting him out of where he was, more than I did Elvis when it
Hmm.
came out a few years ago. I just there's just some there's the innocence with Richie. I guess because he is 17 and he's still a minor when he dies. It's unheard of that you see a 16 to 17-year-old rise to fame like that.
There's some, obviously.
Yeah, there's
Uh,
some, but I mean,
like Stevie Wonder is the most famous one. He started performing at a young age. Michael Jackson, arguably the most famous one,
yeah,
that started at a young age. But in that time and day, because he predated Stevie and Michael,
yeah.
Richie Valens did, and he was one of the first Chicano, uh, like Mexican, stars who crossed over, but still was fully Mexican. You know what I'm saying? In the
Hmm.
sense of proud of his heritage. I love the song La Bamba. I think it's an outstanding song. I listened like me watching this movie. I went back and listened to a lot of his songs, and just because it just got me in the mood to listen to a lot of his music. Um, and he was a very talented artist as well.
Yeah. I mean,
Taught himself how to play guitar.
what's that? He
I
taught
said
himself.
he taught himself how to play the guitar right-handed, and he's a lefty. He taught himself how to play it right-handed because that's what most guitars is right-handed. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. I looked up research on
There you go, Aaron. Doing your research. That's why you're the number one play-by-play man in the business.
it. Feel that way. Uh,
That's why I'm the
but,
king.
but what? So let's talk about. So do you feel? I felt like the mother. I felt like their mother Connie
Yeah.
made subtle differences between the way she treated Richie and the way she treated Bob. In the
I
sense
would,
of like,
I would say,
Richie was well, not subtle. Richie was
well,
her baby, her
yeah,
Miko, and Bob was her oldest. But you could tell every time she dealt with Bob how disappointed she was of Bob. But Richie looked at Bob as his hero.
yeah, yeah. But I think that's the most cases with little brothers looking up to that big brother. Um, they they can't see any wrong, and Richie just at that early age just couldn't see any wrong with Bob. Of course, when he comes back, he starts to see some differences. He even says it in the movie. He's like, "Man, I thought you changed," you know. And here's the thing, Bob kind of steals Richie's. I wouldn't say girlfriend, but obviously he wanted her to be his girlfriend, and he just kind of comes in and steals her away from him. And that's your own brother. I mean, that's Bob had no respect for anyone. The way I've never been able to pronounce his name. Elias, is that his name?
Oh,
Morales,
what is this?
the actor that plays Bob.
Yeah, Eli, something like that.
Yeah, I just felt like he didn't really respect anybody. When you first meet him, he's going to do things his way. Doesn't care who likes it, who doesn't. It's his way or the highway, and usually it was the highway for him. But yeah, he's really all about himself. But there is some growth within this movie with Bob, and I love that. I love the way he portrayed Bob throughout this movie because he does grow throughout the movie. You know, he does try to do better for himself, overcome his demons, but he can't deal with how big his little brother is getting. That jealousy comes into play, and I thought this is one of the better, well-written, story-driven musical biopics out there. Even to this day, I agree. I just feel that while watching
it totally still holds up today.
Yeah.
It's still and hands down, Issei maybe, or essay, maybe it's essay. essay, make essay. I'm gonna say essay because that looks right. He. I don't know if he was nominated for best supporting actor. If not, he should have been because he was so robbed. I thought he was so believable as an alcoholic. He's so believable as an envious brother. He is so believable as a frustrated husband. He is so believable as an abusive husband and belligerent individual. Uh, but also, he is so believable as a lovable brother because
Yeah.
ultimately he loved his brother. He loved his mother. He loved his family. He just didn't know how to really, because he lacked that father figure in his life. He didn't know how to display what it meant to be a man. It's how I took it. What's your thoughts?
No, I agree with that. Like when it comes to the father figure, like Richie's dad. I didn't even realize watching this as a kid that they weren't like full blooded brothers; they were half brothers. I didn't realize that, and that has an effect on an older sibling. I would say that the guy that's kind of being your father isn't tells you at an early age that you're not my son, and he notices how he treats Richie and him. He knows the difference. There's more love there, and it's got to mess with the kid. It's to feel that I'm not good enough. And Bob felt that way, that he wasn't good enough, not only to his stepdad, but his own mother. He always felt like, the black sheep of the family,
Okay, I was like, what? You felt like the what? No.
I knew you would, and I saw the look on you, and I was like, he thinks I'm going racial with it, but I'm not.
But yeah, you're right. And then also, as you said, SA is still, of course, working today, and
Oh
it
yeah,
has to be him. Rich, I always call him Richie. I always know him as Richie. But Lou Diamond is also working, but not as much. It looks like his last. He's doing a lot of voice work. He's in the Justice League, Crisis on Infinite Earth Part One. He did a voice of Owlman. He did an episode of Quantum Leap, the new show. He was in. He does like a lot of voice work, and I think you see that with a lot of actors now. They kind of went to the small screen or
yeah, they
voice
do.
work to kind of still work. But yeah, man, I think that. Let me see if I got any comments on Facebook because I asked people to comment. Nope. As far as like what their favorite uh yeah, to see what the favorite, whatever it is. What's your favorite musical biopic? All right. So let's see. I want to mention this one thing, and I guess it really did happen. So apparently, Richie did experience uh, seeing a plane crash as a child,
Yeah.
and where his best friend was killed by the debris. uh, it's just so ironic. You know what I mean? It's very ironic. It is literally an ironic thing that one of the biggest life events in his life was seeing that, and years later that be the same thing to actually kill him. You know,
Yeah.
uh, it's like it's the irony in that is actually amazing. Um, but yeah, what was your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be hard. I mean, you do, cause it stuck with him. I mean, he had these recurring nightmares of this event that he experienced. His best friend or one of his best friends died from that while he was at his grandfather's funeral. Um, so, comment what your favorite musical topic is.
I'm trying to do something. Let's see. So continue talking.
Uh, uh, but yeah, it stuck with him, and I think
Keep talking.
it's experiencing that would stick with you. It would be very hard. I mean, you know, uh, that fear of his. I always felt while watching this movie that he always feared that he was going to die by an airplane, whether it was crashing onto him or him being in one. And I'll be honest with you, this movie in itself has always kept me away from getting on an airplane. I'm gonna be real; it has always scared me from getting on an airplane. I've never been on one. I've been on a helicopter once, and I'm afraid of them. I'm afraid to get on one, just like Richie was. I don't have reoccurring dreams about being on one, but this movie, watching this, it just made me afraid to get on one. And so I could just only imagine what he felt as a kid. If I have his
Kind
fear by watching a movie, what he felt living it, you know?
kind of like
Yeah,
a record idea for me.
yeah,
But yeah, I have been on the airplane once, and it was like sort of after it was like maybe 2 to 3 years. Well, 9/11 was 2001, and I flew in 2004,
yeah.
and so a couple years after 9/11. But yeah, it was for me scary because you know, what can you do? If you crash, you crash.
Yeah.
It's pretty much game over, man. Game over, dude. Game over.
I
Um,
mean, 9 times out of 10, yeah. I mean, they're not really made to withstand a crash like if you're inside of an airplane, you know. I mean, there's obviously some cases where some people do survive, but 9 times out of 10, that's if it crashes and it's like you don't land in water or anything, it's gonna. I mean, it's gonna be bad. It's
yeah,
not gonna. They're gonna find pieces of you or other people. I mean, it's like one of the most heinous probably scenes that anyone could ever see is a plane crash.
yeah,
I wouldn't even want to be in that field where you do the searching and stuff. I couldn't
yeah.
handle it myself, but
Unfortunately, man, I've seen footage, not footage, but photos of when they pulled Otis Redding from the like his plane crashed into the water. And he essentially, I don't know if it's the blunt force trauma or the drowning that killed him, but he was still strapped to his chair, strapped to his seat. You know, unfortunately, and like it's just oh man, the tragedy that was. Um, but yeah, I think that he should also get a biopic. That'd be an amazing biopic of Otis Redding. Um, but are you familiar with Otis Redding?
no. I mean, his
Uh,
name sounds familiar, but no, I'm not.
Sitting on the Dock of the Bay. Uh, he did Tramp. He did Fa 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 that song. He's done a lot of different. I think he also did like a version of It's Your Thing. I'm not sure, but but yeah, yeah, he's a very very big musical talent. Uh, for his time, he's in that early stages of rock and roll. And so he's actually that rock bleeding into soul music.
Yeah.
Uh, so you know, Sam Cooke, people like that. He was that era of music. I love music history, and that's what I should have invited on this podcast is Lamont Pearley. He of the uh, it's called the African American folklore.
Mm-hmm.
He's a very interesting man. His musical history, knowledge of musical history, is amazing, and he would have been probably really good for this podcast as well. Just talking about the history of like Chicano Rock, because I imagine he knows of that rock and the people that were in this uh, musical genre. Um, One person I think was the least well, most underdeveloped character in this movie was Donna. Uh, uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I think Donna was she was there. Oh, I wonder if it really truly was a Donna, but she was there only for the sake of the song, "Oh Donna." But in my opinion, she really didn't serve much of a purpose.
Well, I think her dad had a bigger purpose than her. I would say, revisiting this, his racial prejudice. I don't know if it was because he was Mexican or not, but I felt like he felt that his daughter should only be with white people, and that's how he came off. But that actor had just. I remember him in Perfect Strangers. He's good at playing these kind of characters. I'll give him that. But he was also in Critters 2, I believe. But
Yeah, I think so.
ran the newspaper, I believe.
Yeah,
But
he was also in Memoirs of the Invisible Man, Forrest Gump. He was the one that said your mom cares about your teaching, and then
yeah.
it was like,
But yeah, I never really paid her dad much attention, but I did last night watching this. I was like, yeah, he didn't get much screen time, but he made his scenes count. Like you got a vibe from him. I credit that to the actor. I mean, because he has maybe 3-4 scenes. I mean, you don't like him, which I mean, you don't like him in most of his stuff anyway. So, like I said, he's good at playing the slimy, bigot type characters. But yeah, I mean, I like Donna. I think but yeah, she didn't really have much of a character other than her dad's a racist, and she's the girlfriend of Richie Valens. And there's a song that he sings that he's became pretty famous for named Donna. You don't really get to know who she is as a person. So yeah, I agree with you that she was underdeveloped.
yeah, and the movie, like, if the movie had been made now, it would have been a longer movie. The movie is it's under 2 hours. It's an hour and 48 minutes. But yeah, it would have been much longer, and so, but I think for its time, it's funny how the runtime of movies has gotten a bit longer and longer.
Yeah.
Like a movie like this, What's Love Got to Do with It, things like that, was like very short films, but was able to tell the story. Didn't feel rushed, and it didn't feel rushed. I felt like to know that Richie Valens came from a poverty type of background. They lived in the city, where they essentially like a communal type of thing where they get water. It's just like it's, but that's what life was like for a lot of immigrants. And it's just I thought that man, it was I thought it was really good, man. I want to say this too. The dude who played, I don't know what his name is, but the guy that was like the lead singer of the band before Richie got into it.
Yeah.
He was a terrible musician. That guy could not sing.
I mean, that's exactly why he didn't want Richie to sing, because he knew what was going to happen. He knew he was going to take over his band. Everybody's going to come see Richie, and he's going to basically get kicked out, which, I mean, he didn't get kicked out, but Richie left. The other band members left with him because they knew where the talent was. So he was trying to protect his interests, if I can use an analogy there. I mean, he was basically pulling a Hulk Hogan. He's trying to protect his own, he keep the little man that's trying to come up down, say Macho Man. Never allow him to get anything over you. So you always have that your star will always be bigger. That's what he was trying to do with Richie, essentially. The thing you gotta understand though, with talent like that, a guy like Richie, you're not gonna diminish that star. Like, he's gonna find a way. Especially, and he came off like a really nice guy too, which is why I like it, because it shows his innocence and his trustworthiness, especially when he gets with Joe, the manager. I mean, his name's not Joe in the movie, but we all know who we're talking about. When he gets with him, and I like that relationship. And I know we haven't talked about it yet, but like his manager that he gets with, when because he protects him, he's almost like he's like a father figure to him. And during that time where the manager seemed, if you go by, I'm just going by what I know one manager did. We all know. You saw Elvis. I mean, you know what Colonel Parker did to Elvis, and it shows the difference if you get the right manager that's going to protect you and at the same time invest in you. There's where he can really start to take you, and you don't lose your innocence. You don't lose your soul. You don't lose who you really are, and you gotta be careful who you let in your life.
It's true.
I love that relationship, though. I thought, because when I was watching it, I was like thinking, that's the difference between a guy like Richie and a guy like Elvis, or someone else that got with a bad manager compared to a good one.
You know what? And I noticed it reminded me of the relationship between the manager of the Five Heartbeats and Joey Pance's role and character in this movie. Like you discovered Richie at his lowest point, like with his brother picking a fight and stuff like that. But he's seen something in him, kind of like with the Five Heartbeats, how their manager, if you remember, seen them right when they're getting booed off stage and trash thrown at them and stuff, but they persevered and kind of still came together. And he's seen something in them, and wanted to see them succeed and protect them in the industry. Whereas you have folks that want to take advantage of you, like in Five Heartbeats is Big Red. In Elvis, it was the Colonel Parker. Colonel Parker, right?
Colonel Parker,
yeah.
I always, not to get on Elvis, but I always felt like if Elvis would have just stuck with Sam Phillips, he probably still would have got where he was going, but wouldn't have changed so much. Wouldn't have got into the drugs like he got into them. Wouldn't have been so depressed. And I think that with Johnny Cash too, and because he got on the drugs too, but he found a way out. He found his light. But yeah, I mean, it matters if you're especially a young musician starting out. It matters who does see you. If they're going to try to take advantage of you, or they're literally going to try to help you. You got to be careful. And during this era, you didn't know who was a snake or who was your shining knight. You didn't know. You know what kind of people. You know what kind of people these were. I mean, you had to trust them.
But yeah, speaking of trust. So Richie didn't trust Airplane.
Nope.
He didn't trust it at all. And towards the end of the film, he he did have the wreck. The plane crash. It was the bus that they was riding broke down essentially, and he wanted to. Okay, Matthew Carter's watching. Hey, Matthew, thanks for watching. Matthew, hey, Aaron and Brennan, how are you? Maybe you can review the Winnie the Pooh horror duology. I hope you two are enjoying the day today. Thank you, Matthew. I don't know
That's
about
an
that.
interesting thought, Matthew. Because I've spoken to you in the past, and I know you don't like horror movies. So that's an interesting,
We'll
suggestion.
watch it, Matthew, if you watch those horror movies with us.
Oh, you
How
gonna make
about
me watch the first one again? Oh, it was terrible. It was literally the
if he
worst
if
movie of the
he
year for me last year.
if he watches them, which he won't watch them? Matthew says his favorite musical biopic is "Take Me Home," the John Denver movie. I've never seen that one. Um, I didn't know there was a thing. He also is another person that died in a plane crash. I
Yeah,
forgot about
yeah.
it.
I didn't know John Denver had a biopic, but I do remember the movie Take Me Home. It wasn't a biopic, not the one I saw. Topher Grace is in it. It's a rom com, but in the '80s, I liked it.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but
I didn't know that John Denver.
it's "Take Me Home Tonight."
Okay, yeah, Take Me Home Tonight. Yeah, I didn't know.
Take me.
Anyway, yeah. I didn't know John Denver had a biopic though.
Yeah, who plays John Denver? Let us know. Uh, but um, but yeah, unfortunately, they had a coin toss, and it's between him and I guess. Don't beat me up, guys. I've never heard of this artist. Tommy something maybe was it Tommy Elsip or something? Tommy Elsip. I have not. I don't know who he is. Don't beat me up because I just don't know him. I was trying to see if I can look him up, but anyway, he lost, and that was Richie Valens' first time winning a coin toss, which is so unlucky. Uh,
yeah.
Tommy Elkett, he finally died, by the way. It's just 2017. Not to say that
Oh
but
my lord.
he didn't die on the plane crash, but he died in life in Springfield, Missouri.
We
Now, it'll be,
apologize to anyone that knows this Tommy that neither one of us have ever heard of. That he
oh, Tommy's
finally.
the only one. Like, I
I
can't
can't
remember.
believe you just said that. He finally died. It's like
Uh,
you were waiting for it for decades.
yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. I was wondering if he's still alive, but nope, he died. He's dead. Tommy's dead. Okay. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Uh, well, it doesn't matter.
My God, you just did it again. What's
For his
wrong with
family,
you?
for his family, it matters. For me, it doesn't. But okay. Uh,
As a child of God, how can you say that? It
I
doesn't
hope
matter.
I hope
Who
he
are
knew.
you, the final boss now?
I hope he knew Jesus. I hope he knew Jesus. But there's nothing I can do about it if he didn't. It's too late. That bridge has been crossed. Um.
Just stop.
Uh. Anyway. Uh. So Richie, Buddy, and Big Boppa die. Oh, the tragedy of hearing about it via radio.
Yeah, that
Oh
was.
man! And then it's sinking in what you hear, and you're not sure that you heard what you heard, and knowing that everybody's hearing it and
Yeah.
everybody's responding, and the mother crying, and she acted in that, and then him screaming Richie. I was teared up. I was crying. I was like, oh Lord,
It's
Richie.
emotional. It's emotional. Still to this day, it's very emotional. And I think everybody in the world can relate to something like this because once you get told someone that you loved, that was beloved in your life, I mean, you don't believe it at first. Like, no. And I remember when my friend Josh passed, I was working at Walmart and I just brought in some buggies, and the door greeter told me, and I remember I didn't say anything. I went to lunch, and I had a kind of a similar situation that Bob had when he fell to his knees. I went to my brother's house, and I fell to my knees, just crying. So I had the very similar situation right there. So, man, it's heartbreaking to watch it on screen, to experience something like that. I mean, it's just heartbreaking. But to lose your brother or a son at that early of an age, it's just crazy, man. He had his whole life ahead of him. You think, he was going to get them so far away from where they were. They weren't going to be in poverty anymore. They weren't going to struggle at all. I mean, he was literally going to get them out. And to lose him like that,
I'm curious.
I have no idea how to take something like that because, I mean, because I've never been in that situation, and I don't think you have either. But
Well, not in a sense of like losing my mother was,
yeah,
but it's its own type of tragedy
yeah,
of losing a parent. It sticks with you. Like it's been several years now, and I'm not over it. I'm still hurting. I still mourn my mother.
yeah,
I miss my mom, but it's like it's something where you like it just the world feels different without your parents. So I'm thankful that you have both of your parents.
yeah,
And I pray for their health and and their longevity. But yeah, and then for my father as well, and that I also have a stepmom that I also pray that for her health. But yeah, it's a sad thing to lose. I remember my cousin lost her daughter at a very young age. Like my little cousin was, I think 4 year old, like a 4 year old little girl. Uh, Suddenly, like, well, she wasn't like sick for a long time, just got sick and was
yeah.
dead by within a day or so, just out of nowhere. And it rocks you. You'll never forget seeing a casket that small. You know what I mean? Like that, something that
I
will live with you as long as I can remember things.
Yeah, I
I'll
mean, I
never.
can't. I've heard of stories like that, but I've never experienced. I don't actually. Yeah, there was one time I didn't get. It was like a private thing though. It was a baby though. She was born premature and they had a little funeral for it, but it was really private. Like only like the parents and maybe like the grandparents were there, and no one else was allowed to go. Uh,
Mm,
you could go to the gravesite, but it was really a private moment. But they said it was like a shoebox, like.
mm,
But I still haven't seen it, and I don't think I would want to. I mean, because that makes you think. I mean, that's not right, you know,
yeah,
for a baby or a small child to be taken like
yeah,
that. I mean, it's not. It just won't sit well with you, or it shouldn't sit well with you. I mean,
yeah,
you know, you question things. I mean, I remember questioning things when Josh died because he was only 20, and I didn't understand it. I still don't understand it to this day, but I know God's got a plan and He's got His reasons. We are not expected to understand everything. We will not understand everything. He has His plan, so we have to accept that.
yeah. Um, uh, Getting to back to the movie in the sense of I did wonder like what happens to their family after the fact because Richie
Yeah,
just bought his mom his whole family a house, a big house, and you know, but they'll probably end up going back to poverty,
yeah,
unfortunately, because I doubt. the record labels will take care of him like that. I don't know if they own his own the rights to his music. Uh, but it's a tragedy, and and then of course from this the from this tragic one of the biggest uh, songs in the history of rock and roll uh, happened. American Pie, The Day the Music Dies. Um, that song, Bye Bye Miss American Pie, drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry, was about this the death of Richie, Big Bopper, and Buddy Holly. And so one of the biggest from this tragedy, from the ashes, unfortunately, of this tragedy, came up one of the biggest songs in the history of music, the American Pie song.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think it's a great. Musically speaking, it's there's. I don't think there could be any bigger honor of paying respect to three artists. I don't think there could be any bigger honor than that, than making a tribute song to them in that way. I never really knew that that's what it was about. I actually thought it was more. I didn't really pay attention to the song till American Pie came out. So that was in the 90s. I honestly thought it was about John Denver, but I didn't know the timeline or nothing. So learning that now, I think it's the biggest honor, that they could have done, to pay respect for Richie, the Big Bopper, and of course Buddy. I I don't know where Richie would have went after this, but I do believe Buddy Holly was gonna rival Elvis for that top spot. I think he was that good, and I love his music. I love Buddy. I think early in those days, I think I may have liked Buddy Holly a little bit better than Elvis, honestly.
Uh, Now, also Matthew mentions that little thing you do. Uh, I will ask you this before we get to our numbers,
Yeah.
um, our marks for this film. What is your favorite musical biopic? Other
I
than
Can I go with my second? Because everybody's gonna know it's gonna be Elvis from 2022.
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, my second favorite biopic, Walk the Line, Johnny
Hmm.
Cash. I really like that one.
Um,
I just don't feel like it's fair to ask me personally because of how big of an Elvis fan I am. Because it's gonna be Elvis.
yeah, my favorite musical biopic, actual like a movie, not like a mini series about like because that's a different beast. Is I don't know. I, I don't know. I mean, one of my favorite ones, honestly, and I would consider a biopic. Crush Groove. Crush Groove is
Never
the
heard of
bio. Yeah, Crush Groove is the biopic about the history of hip hop. It stars Blair Underwood as Russell Simmons,
it. Yeah.
and it's about like the infancy of hip hop and Def Jam records and how kind of Def Jam got started with Russell Simmons and the Fat Boys and LL Cool J and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh, it was a good movie for it's now it might not hold up today. I might have to choose it since you haven't seen it. Uh,
I've never heard of it.
yeah, it's yeah. I mean, but I would say Crush Groove. My second one, if I'm going to choose the second one, which is the better one, and that's a better movie than Crush Groove. Obviously better than Crush Groove. Will probably be Ray.
I was going to mention Ray because I kind of I forgot about it. And then I was like, as you were mentioning this, when I was like, oh, I forgot about Ray. Ray was great. I mean, I didn't feel like I was watching Jamie Foxx portray Ray Charles. I actually thought I was watching Ray Charles, and I really adore that movie. I think that's one movie we should revisit at some point.
Yeah.
Is Ray.
Follow-up question to you.
Okay.
Least favorite.
Least favorite. Can this be like a mini series or just?
I know you're gonna go for the miniseries. Go ahead.
No, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go Temptations.
Buddy Holly. Have you seen the Buddy Holly story?
Yeah, I love the Buddy Holly movie. If it's a miniseries, I'm gonna go Elvis, the 1990-91. Not that it's bad, they just didn't tell the story right. Okay. How he really started out, and they didn't tell it right. I like it, but I think it's not very accurate compared to other biopics they've done about him. But if you take him out of the picture, I haven't seen Bob Marley. What was that movie that came out like? What was about? She was in her name is just slipping me. She was in the Kevin Costner movie, The Bodyguard.
Whitney Houston.
The Whitney Houston movie was probably my least favorite musical biopic that I've ever seen in a theater. So I thought that was just plain. It didn't capture really the soul of her. And not that I know her music all that well, but I know a few songs, but I know more about her, her personal life than her actual music life. But
musically, she was the voice, and so she was amazing.
She was great. She just had a tragic, story. I mean, and I just didn't think the movie did a very good job of telling it.
I would say also, and I wouldn't have. I forgot about this movie, Selena. I thought that was a really good movie with Jennifer Lopez.
I haven't seen that one.
But I would say my least favorite would be the Michael Jackson movie.
That's coming?
No. The one starring Flex. I forget his name, but it's terrible. It's like
I never knew he had one before.
No, he had two of them. One of them is really good. It's a miniseries, but I was gonna choose that next week, but I thought it'd be too long to have you watch a 3-hour miniseries again.
No, go ahead. I mean, if that's what you want to pick.
Let's see, but it is the one I'm talking about stars Flex. I forget his name. Flex. He's a comedian, but he doesn't look like Michael at all. It's just really bad. It's a really bad movie. It's very, very terrible. It's terrible. But then, the second one that I've seen not in theaters, but I thought was a large production that I didn't like, and it's gonna probably be controversial. It'd be Get On Up. I didn't like Get On Up.
Oh yeah, that was pretty. I would actually change my pick now. Yeah, that was worse.
I didn't like the breaking of the fourth wall, whatever, with James. I didn't like the storytelling. I thought it was just. But I love Chadwick.
Chadwick's performance was amazing.
Best thing about the movie, but the movie was terrible. Yeah.
Well, before we close this out, I just want to ask you one question.
Yeah.
Okay, musically speaking, what's one guy that's never had a biopic that you're aware of that you would love to see them get one?
That's a good question. Let's see. One person musically that haven't had a biopic at all that I think they should have one.
Yeah.
Honestly, let me do this. One, honestly, I'm gonna name two of them. One,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
first one. I think he, I think Sam Cooke. I was gonna say Marvin Gaye, but I think
Yeah.
Sam Cooke would be a little bit more interesting because he really started. If it wasn't, if it, there would be no Marvin Gaye if there was never if Sam Cooke never existed. There wouldn't be a Marvin Gaye. Sam Cooke was the quintessential soul man. So I think that I would love to see it. So, and he died tragically, mysteriously and tragically. And I think that it would be an interesting movie to see
Yeah.
about him. And then like what happened after his death is also crazy. But and then another one that is going to be shocking for you, maybe. I would love to see a biopic about Will Smith. I
Wait a
think it'd
sec.
be
Will Smith,
Will Smith.
the mega blockbuster actor that was
Yeah,
once a rapper.
yeah,
That Will
because
Smith.
yeah, that Will Smith because he started in hip hop in the time that hip hop really started to become like seen, like
Yeah.
seen. And he has a podcast called The Class of '88, I think, or something like that. Class of '88 or something like that. It's like uh, it's a podcast where he's talking about like how hip hop hit the scene in '88. So it hit the scene prior to that, but in '88 is when they kind of started getting big. That's when like Salt and Pepper got big. It's like a lot of people kind of started getting big. Run DMC was there, huge, and the scene would have been amazing just to see. And I think there would be a very interesting tale of how he came from West Philly and broke into the entertainment industry. I think that it would be an amazing biopic.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. My two will be. I'll go a band. Then I'll go a solo artist. The band that I do not believe has ever got one is Aerosmith. I don't know if they have. If they have, I'm not aware of it. But
I
I
hope
would
so.
love to see that. Uh, Solo act. I'm gonna go country music. He's just my favorite country music artist of all time, and I hate what's happened to him. But I'm gonna go Randy Travis. I would love to see that. That man, his rise, the addictions he's had in his life, plus the stroke, and kind of overcoming that and making appearances today. I mean, I think it would be a very heartwarming story with him. I almost said Toby Keith, but I think that's just too soon. And as much as I love Toby, I don't think he was ever as big as a guy like Randy Travis in the country music world. But if I went like all time big country music star, Garth Brooks definitely hands down deserves one. But I personally would rather see Randy's story over his. But yeah,
Yeah. By the way, my my favorite country, and I'm going to say this real quick. My favorite country music star, musician of all time is Johnny Cash. I'm a huge Johnny guy. Patsy Cline would be my second all-time favorite, but
yeah,
uh, I also love a lot of uh, shoot, man. Why it's crazy that, and I do really like his stuff. Uh, but it's escaping me. I don't know why he's escaping me. Uh, let's see. Wait a minute. Um, let's see. Let me see. Humble and kind. Who sang that?
humble in time. I've heard of
Tim
that
McGraw.
song.
Tim McGraw.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Is Tim
Actually,
McGraw.
that's another guy that I mean, he still sings a little bit here and there, but he's another guy that I have to say deserves one too. I mean,
Yeah. Uh,
but if you go
I'm sorry.
female artists, though, I would say even though she's kind of had TV versions, but she's never had a mainstream film. That's Dolly Parton.
Hmm.
I wouldn't mind seeing a Kenny Rogers and Dolly Parton movie together because I know they were really close and they kind of came up at the same time. And
Dolly would be an amazing. It'd be an amazing biopic.
yeah,
And real quick, so let's go and get to our numbers. I'm sorry.
we haven't done the numbers yet.
All right. So I'll give this movie 5 markets out of 5. I think that I was gonna give it 4 but I couldn't see a real good reason to give it 4 or 4.5. I felt like Lou Diamond. Everybody did a great job acting. The one character was underdeveloped, but it's not that important. What's most important is Richie Valens, Bobby, and just the rise to fame and his tragedy, and I think they conveyed all of that. And it got me listening to his music as soon as it went off. So, yeah.
Man, I originally said a 4. I'm not gonna go a 5 though. I'll give it a 4.5 out of 5. It's not that I find anything to be wrong with it. It's just the Donna character should have been more important because she was at this point kind of the love of his life. I mean, if the character is real, I mean, he named one of his biggest songs is named after her, so I felt she should have had more of a bigger role. She'd been her should have been fleshed out. Her character should have been fleshed out a little bit more. And I think it hurts. It doesn't hurt the film, as you said, but it hurts her relationship with him on screen. If that makes sense. It just wasn't fleshed out enough. So that's my only truly gripe of this movie, and I think it loses a half a star for it. But it's not that big of a deal. It's still an amazing biopic, and it's still and one of the better '80s musically films that were made. So they don't get much better than La Bamba in the '80s.
Yeah. Well, that's our review for La Bamba. So next week I think I'm gonna go. So let me tell you real quick. I had a bunch of things that I was gonna.
I know. You asked me. Haven't you asked me? That's like 5 or 6. Have you seen this? Have you seen that?
It was, but I narrowed it down to either Blaze, which I might still do because I've never seen it, and I don't know who the guy is. So I love to see a movie about an artist I never heard of, and see if I'm then a fan afterwards. I'm like, oh man, I want to listen to more of the music and stuff. So Blaze, which is about Blaze Foley, I've never heard of the guy. And then another one is a French I guess what's this thing called? Violinist.
Yeah.
Named Charrier, which is a movie that came out last year. I think it's last year. It's called Charrier, and he was like a French musician who was very prominent. He was born of a slave and a free white person. But he might have also had relations with Marie Antoinette, which was the French monarch person. I don't know nothing about the French. I know she died in history. If you don't know that, she died in history. And was murdered in history. But did I ruin that for you?
I mean, I didn't know who she was, but yeah. I
My
know
bad.
Murdered now.
Yeah, it's history. My bad. But yeah, it's been interesting to learn of this. It's been hard because I don't really like Renaissance type of music.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to watch. So I may choose that down the line. But and then I thought about Shirley, the new movie about Shirley Chisholm, who was a civil rights. I think she was like a pioneer in politics and civil rights. And Sarge Regina King on Netflix just now came out, which I may save that for another time. But I think I'm gonna go Crush Groove, which is on Tubi. So I think I'm gonna go that movie because I like to see your take on it. You may hate it because I don't know if you don't like hip hop like much like that, but it's interesting.
I mean, I'm the whitest person you know.
Yeah, I was trying to think if you are. Yes. I know someone's whiter, but yeah. You're both.
I'm not the whitest. All right.
You are the whitest. You're the most awkward
I mean, I know
whitest.
I'm physically the whitest person you know. I don't tan.
You're the most awkward whitest I know.
Yeah, I'm proud of that.
I love you nonetheless. All right. Well, Brandon, what do we want the people to do?
Well, if you enjoyed this episode, hit that like button, hit that share button, hit that subscribe, and comment what you want to see on the Mark Out Movie Podcast channel. Woo-rah!
Yeah,
let me talk to you.
Yeah, that's his. He's really into this LA Knight guy. Yep.
I love LA Knight. I'm glad he's got a match at WrestleMania.
But if you next week we're gonna watch Crush Groove. If you want to watch Crush Groove, if you want to watch it, so you can kind of talk about the movie with us, and I might start doing it so that people can know. It's right now on Roku channel if you have Roku TV, and then it's also on Tubi, which both of those are free. But yeah, I'm gonna try to watch it. I guess on Tubi because I'm gonna watch it in living room.
Roku's free.
Roku channel's free. I don't know if you gotta have if you can have it without having a Roku. I don't know.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to see. You should try to download it on your TV. See what happens.
Another app he wants me to download.
No, I get that too. But if you like this, thank you. We appreciate you. I want everybody to have an outstanding Easter. Remember, Easter is about the resurrection of Jesus Christ, who paid for the sins of the world. Not just the Jews, but also the Gentiles. In his work of redemption. And so if you don't know him, come to know him because there is no peace without Jesus. Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. I boldly claim Jesus is my Lord. I don't deny him. Brandon don't deny him.
No,
and we're just thankful for everything he's done for us, which he didn't have to do it, but he does. So.
Amen. Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Well, we appreciate you. Have a good weekend. What are you saying, Brandon?
I'll ask you afterwards.
Let me talk to you.